Good day everyone, I'm here today to show my presentation to you which entitled Simple Enrollment System. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Maalam Pasqua. And let's begin. Title and content. Title of this presentation is Simple Enrollment System, and the content is List of function name and its use, and display sample output. And now, this is the list of function name. We have void student info, void semester, void course, void class year 2, void class year, void payment, void BSID track, void BSCS, void BSIS, void BLIS, void MIT, void MIT Pro, and INT main. And now, this is the uses of the functions and displayed sample code and output. First is the void student info. It is used to get the student info from the user using cin and to display the student info from using cout. This is the example of code, and this is the sample output. Next is the semester, to display the form what semester would like the user to apply. This is the example of code, and this is sample output. Next is void course, to display the courses from and make inquiries from user input using cin to inquire about the user preferred course of action. This is the example of code, and this is the example output. Next is void class year, uses to ask the user what year and levels want to apply. Example of code, sample output. Void class year 2, uses to ask the user what year level wants to apply if the user apply in the MIT track. The example of code, sample output. Next is void payment, to display payment form. This is to receive the payment from user using input and subtract it to change. Display to user input and invalid input using switch break and default if there is no case match. This is the example of code and sample output. Next is void BSID track, to display BSID form. Ask the user what year and semester they want to apply for. This is example code and example output. Void BSIT, to display the BSIT form and ask the user what year and semester they want to apply for. Next, this is the sample output and example of code. Void BSCS, to display the BSCS form. Ask the user what year and semester they want to apply for. Example of code and sample output. Void BSIS, to display BSIS form and ask the user what year and semester they want to apply for. Example of code and sample output. Void BLIS, to display the BLIS form and ask the user what year and semester they want to apply for. Example of code and sample output. Void MIT, to display the MIT form and ask the user what year and semester they want to apply for. Example of code and sample output. Next is void MIT Pro, to display the MIT form and the user what program they want to apply for. Example of code and sample output. And lastly is the INT main for initialization of the code. And that's all. Thank you for your listening. Good day everyone.